Hey, welcome to the Locker Room, where we break down sermon stories and scripture for the race of our faith. If this podcast has been serving you, hit follow and the notification bell. That way you can stay up to date on all new episodes. Today I'm super excited because before me and Rod, we have Aidan O'Connell, who is the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Super Bowl is... Are you in Las Vegas right now, Aidan?
I am. Yeah, I am. So we're gearing up. It's getting crazy around here.
Do you guys, being the hosting team, have any involvement at all in that?
The only thing is we get kicked out of our facility, actually. So that's a lot of fun. The Chiefs will actually come in and take our facility for the week. So not great.
And then
is there a trade-off? Do you guys get tickets?
Nope.
Wow.
We can buy tickets at face value, but it's nothing like that. So yeah, it's actually all negative. So that's super fun.
Yeah, I'm a Lion fan here, so we're still hurting over our big loss.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
but I was pulling for you guys.
Were you? I love it.
Can you give Aidan though background, because it seems kind of random? Like why did we coin this podcast The Locker Room, and what does it have to do with our church?
We kind of call our church gathering the locker room. The locker room, for anyone who's played sports, is a special place. As a 3-sport athlete in high school, football, basketball, and baseball, especially those two sports, basketball and football, just, it's where a team is a team, most a team in some ways. The blood, sweat, the tears before the game, the sense of anticipation, middle of the game, then after the game, and everything that you have to deal with. And at the end of the day, like, our faith in Jesus Christ, being a disciple of Jesus Christ, we're not called to be spectators in the stands, but there's a field that we're called to be on. And in light of that, and it's game on. I think we all feel that today, but we need the locker room. We need that place. So that's why we call our church the locker room, and then this is an extension of that.
We got to live out our faith on the field. So tell us a little about your upbringing, though, Aidan. Were your parents Christian? How did you develop in your faith just growing up?
Yeah, so my parents both grew up Catholic, and I actually grew up Catholic. I remember I did my first communion in second grade and was in the Catholic church and everything. And then somewhere between like third, fourth grade maybe, my parents became Christian, and we left the Catholic church and went to an evangelical church. And so for most part of what I can remember, I would consider myself growing up in a Christian household, and Dad would read devotionals as he took us to the bus stop and things of that nature. And so definitely helped me in forming my just worldview and view of, what, my different opinions that I had. But I would say it was an immature faith, and don't even really know if I was a Christian until I got to college. And as a lot of people happens, that I kind of went off on my own and had to figure it out by myself. And my second year, actually started dating this girl who's now my wife, and her parents gave us a movie suggestion. It's called American Gospel, and wow. It's a great movie, and it was really the first time that I think I really understood the gospel. And so I don't know if I had been a Christian before that, or that was when I became a Christian, but started to truly understand who Jesus was, what he did, why did he have to die. I could answer all the questions because I grew up in a Christian household, but actually understanding the why behind it was a journey for me.
So what was Pat's influence on you during those formative years? Because I remember, we'd sit in the cafeteria and talk shop about Jesus, and he was really growing a ton in his faith at Wheaton. And then when he was trying to get you to come, which really glad you didn't come, let me just say that, for all the reasons that are very obvious. But what was his influence on your life at that time?
Yeah, I think growing up, he was just a mean older brother for the most part, and I think we shared a room a lot, so we butted heads a bunch. But they're fun memories now. But definitely, I think after he left Ball State and went to Wheaton, he changed pretty dramatically, and it was clear to see from the outside. And he's a lot different now than he was back then, and has been definitely a role model for me. I think I look up to a lot of his maturity and his growth and his faith, how serious he takes it. And yeah, it's been cool to see that, because I have a lot of memories of him just being mean and not being super nice, and brother stuff. But yeah, it's been cool to see his faith evolve as the same as mine.
Yeah. No, and the reason I asked that question is because my younger brother actually led me to the Lord, and we had a very similar relationship. And I remember Pat mentioning some of those things. And
yeah,
when his life started to be transformed, it was like, what is going on here? This is kind of weird. But at the same time, there was this undeniable glow that was coming from his life. So that's really awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about football as it kind of intersects with this. Tell me about, because you were at what's the name of your high school in Chicagoland?
Stevenson.
Yeah, Stevenson. And you didn't get a ton of playing time right away when you were younger, but then by the time you got to your senior year, like, walk us through that, and what was that like?
Yeah, I was definitely a late bloomer, and so even when I got to high school, I was probably like 120 pounds and just super skinny and couldn't put on weight no matter how hard I tried. And so I didn't start as a freshman. I was on the B team and kind of jumped around that year from like B team, and then on the sophomore team for a little bit just as a backup. And so I was just kind of floating around, not really playing very much. Played my sophomore year on the sophomore team. Then my junior year, obviously on varsity, but wasn't the starter, and didn't really get to be the starter until my senior year, and it was hard. I grew up loving football, but I think when I got to high school, I really really loved it and thought it would be something I'd want to do after high school, and so to not get the opportunity to really start until my senior year was hard, and not just hard, but logistically trying to get recruited. It was it's late and only have 1 year of film, especially if it's your last year. And so I wanted to play at a big school, and didn't have the necessary film going into my senior year, and had a good senior year, but still was not very big, still pretty skinny, slow, and had good enough numbers, but not good enough to get recruited how I wanted to. So it was a frustrating process. My high school football experience, for the most part, was pretty frustrating up until my senior year.
Yeah. So walk us through that recruiting process, because you were talking to Wheaton a little bit. At one point, did you commit there technically?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I remember that. The coaches were pretty pumped for the short season. But then, yeah, how did Purdue start talking to you, and were there any other schools?
Yeah, Purdue was. I actually had no scholarship offers, and so at that point I knew it was going to be, if it was at the school, it was going to be a walk-on opportunity. Had a little interest from other Big Ten schools, but it never panned out into anything. And so Purdue, I had a connection through my quarterback coach that I trained with. He knew the head coach at Purdue, and so he got me in touch, and they offered me a walk-on spot, and decided to take it.
Was Braum the coach at that time?
He was.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in his first. That was right when he got there, actually. So,
do you have a good relationship with him? He seems like a really great, obviously, coach.
Yeah, he's an intense guy, but he taught me so. Obviously, he was the only one to give me an opportunity in the first place, and taught me a lot about the game. I remember my first couple years, I didn't play in college, but he, got to learn a lot just kind of sitting behind the scenes and watching him. And his brother actually was my quarterback coach, Brian.
Yeah.
And so had a good relationship with both those guys.
So you went to Purdue as a walk-on.
I did.
Interesting. Did you ever earn a scholarship?
I did. After my second, it was going into my third fall, I got put on scholarship. So it took a little bit of time.
I mean, I'm a big college football fan. There's not that many quarterbacks that start at that level who are walk-ons. Am I right on that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's kind of bittersweet. I got lucky in the sense that guys around me kind of just kept leaving, or some guys unfortunately were getting hurt, and so I kind of just eventually after some time got thrust into the role, and then just tried to fight to keep it,
Yeah. And is it true that you are still, to this day, the only walk-on to ever start at quarterback for the Purdue Boilermakers?
I actually don't know if that's true.
That's what it said online.
To start a game.
I'll claim it.
Yeah, you can claim it. I know one of the guys I played with played. I'm sure guys have played. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, they have a great tradition, a great legacy of quarterback play at Purdue. So
yeah, a bunch of guys.
You lived into that very well. I mean, I'm a huge Michigan fan, and
I'm a Gopher fan, so kind of irrelevant, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I love the Gophers, but boy, do they bring me a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But then when we found out we were playing you guys in the Big Ten championship, I had to who is this quarterback? and then I was in Israel. I lead Israel trips, and I got up at 3 a.m. to watch the game.
Nice.
You had a beautiful game.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I think you threw for almost 400 yards that game.
Yeah, I think we were winning at halftime.
Yes, you were, and it was very scary. And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have a horrible day tomorrow. I'm not getting any sleep, and we're gonna lose. I'm gonna be miserable. And you had a great receiver too,
Bell.
I had a few actually.
Yeah,
David was David Bell, and then Charlie Jones was my.
Yeah, Charlie Jones had a big game that day. Yeah, wow, fun, lots of fun.
So walk me through that mindset though, because that's gritty of you to go into both of those situations. I mean, did your high school experience prepare you for the type of kind of mental anguish of wanting to really play, feeling like you could, but having to wait?
Yeah, I think a few things. I think definitely my dad had taught me, even from an early age, there's situations in life on a smaller scale that you go through to prepare you for a bigger scale. And a lot of times it's the same struggle. And that's what, obviously, going through what I went through in high school was frustrating, but it prepared me for going to Purdue. And I think, I also knew, like I said, I was pretty underdeveloped. I was a late bloomer. So I knew going to Purdue, I wouldn't be a guy that would play right away. I knew I needed some time to develop and hopefully get in the weight room and with nutrition and all that stuff. And so I just thought, give myself a year or two and try to develop, and then we'll see what happens. And so I enjoyed, it was just lifting and doing stuff like that and getting to play football. So it's not anything that's too strenuous in the grand scheme of things. It's stuff I love to do. So enjoyed doing it, and then obviously got a chance to play eventually. But yeah, there was, in the years that I wasn't playing, I kind of got to, figure out what kind of player I wanted to be, and tried to build on that.
Do you mind talking about your relationship with your dad?
Yeah. I have a great relationship with my dad. He's been supportive from a young age. He not only supportive, but also gave me some space to fail and to do, kind of chase after what I wanted to do. And I said, I've been training with this quarterback coach for a while, and I know a lot of guys, like peers, their dad will be at every session watching everything, and kind of, seems like they're all in their business all the time. And my dad, the first one didn't even drive me, and then the next one just dropped me. He came to one session in 10 years and just kind of really lets me live my life, and is there for support and advice when needed. And so he's been huge for my help on the football field, but really perspective off as well.
Yeah, wow, that's a real gift to have a dad like that.
Yeah.
And the permission to fail, especially, is all part of being resilient. Because resilience comes through failure so often, and the grit. And if I go back to that Purdue-Michigan game, forgive me, but I just want to say that's when I was made aware, too, of your story, the loss of your brother. And I don't know if that's something that you'd want to talk about, but I was struck by you as a person, your character, your heart, your tears, and even just being able to play a football game of that magnitude with that kind of pain going on in your life. I don't know if that's just something you'd like to just speak to a little bit.
Yeah, well, I thank you very much. It's very kind words. It sucked. My brother passed technically the night before Thanksgiving, but I found out on Thanksgiving in 2022. And it was a Thursday. Obviously, got a call from family and found out the news. And then, we actually had a game that Saturday against Indiana. It was our last regular season game, and had to win that game to get to the Big Ten championship. And so it was a tough situation, but it was a situation where I could tell that the Lord wanted to do something, in and through my life, and it wasn't something I particularly wanted to do or I wanted to have happen, but I knew it was for something bigger, and so decided to play in the Indiana game, and then actually went home. We played the week later, and we played Michigan the week later, but the coaches let me go home and spend some time at home for a few days, and then I went back to Purdue midweek before the Michigan game. But it was hard. Tough timing, obviously. It was the day of Thanksgiving's the day of thanks, and to hear news like that is really hard. And so to not have closure, and then basically it's just the timeline is crazy because that happened, and I played a couple games, and then my season, that was my last season in college, and that was the last game I played in college, and then I went right into the training for the draft and the combine stuff, and then into this season, and then the craziness of this season. And so it's been kind of like, since I started my season in 2022, my last year of college football until a couple weeks ago, it's been kind of nonstop. And then that on top of it has been hard, but the Lord has definitely sustained us. And a lot of good has come from Sean's passing, as hard as it may be. It's definitely a lot of pain, obviously, but a lot of good conversations with family, friends, different people. So it's been encouraging.
Aidan, that's amazing. I want to thank you, because as a fellow brother in Jesus Christ, when I see someone like you, because suffering makes a person a spectacle, and you're not just, a spectacle, but you're also on national TV, and the way you put Jesus on display was just stunningly beautiful. I'm just really grateful for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, and I do want to talk about that because, you said that your faith really hadn't developed until midway through college. So what was it like, not just in that moment, but prior to that moment, kind of making that transition while you're, in the rigmarole of a Division I college football season, which basically isn't a season, it's a year-long process. And How did you find time for your faith? Not that it's not,
right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. It's hard, but I'm obviously happy that it happened, that I was able to finally understand the gospel. And I think that has more than anything been, I think obviously God's timing is perfect in that. And so I wouldn't have been able to get through what I got through the last few years if it wasn't for that. And so I think God showing me who he is at that time, being gracious to, just like I said, reveal himself to me in that way at that time was huge for me. And soon after that, me and my wife got married, and then that was into the season. It was basically, we got married, then my last season went, and then my brother passed, and then everything the last year and a half or year happened. So it's been a crazy couple years. But yeah, the Lord has sustained me through it, and it's definitely, I can see more than anything now, it's definitely not anything that I've done. I think the hard part for me is I get a lot of people that come up to me and will say things like, "Man, you're just a good person. You just have a good heart, and you just deserve this good thing." And that's definitely not my story. I'm still definitely a sinner, and don't deserve the good that God has given me, and quite the opposite, actually. And he's been gracious to me to not just sustain me, but also allow me to have some pretty awesome opportunities to share my faith. And so trying to have a perspective of that, a lot of people think football is everything, but it's not. And our chaplain here had a good saying this year. He said, "Football is a great sport, awesome sport, but it's a terrible God." And to try to think about that and use that in my life. But
that's a great statement. It's true about so many things. You can apply it to 100,000 things, probably.
Right.
So in light of that, though, how has the Lord revealed that to you, despite obviously you grinding it out, working really hard and wanting to, perfect your craft? How do you keep a level head despite having all of the off the field distractions? You're now obviously in the center of a spotlight, and you're trying to balance wanting to be successful in football, but not making it a god, even as the NFL is, like, culturally speaking, it's a god in America, right? So what's that like?
Yeah, it's hard. That's a really good question. That's something that's a daily battle for me, I think. I think the like you said, the NFL is such a. I mean, people look at it like it's the end all be all, and unfortunately, a lot of people live week to week, Sunday to Sunday. Like, what happens every Sunday is the end of the world or the greatest thing ever, and then the same thing the next Sunday. And so I'm trying to have a perspective that's larger than that, a bigger view than that. I try to think to myself, even 20, 30, 50 years, even if I'm able to have a really great career, people aren't really going to remember me. And we'll watch film, and I'll be watching a film of a big game from like 5 years ago, like a Sunday Night Football game. And at the time, that was the biggest game, and everyone was talking about it, and it seems so important. And then you watch it, and you're like, this really doesn't even matter anymore. And so I think the recency effect of how important everything is right now is something that I'm learning is pretty shallow, and definitely doesn't fulfill me. And not to say I don't want to have a good career, but trying to, like I said, not make football a god, but keep it in its right place. I think I can use it and use the platform I've been given to do what I need to do and glorify God in success and in failure. But to keep it where it needs to be and not put it higher than it needs to be.
So let's talk about the resiliency needed this season too, because you guys had a crazy season. Well, first, are you pumped that Antonio's your new head coach?
Pumped. Yeah.
Is he the man? You love him.
He's the man.
Yes.
He
seems like the real deal from just what I see on TV, but he just seems like a ball coach, He just loves it. Definitely. Do you guys have a good relationship?
We do. Yeah, obviously our stories are kind of tied together, and especially last year, he became the interim, and I said I got to play, and so I got to play a bunch of games because of him and Champ R, the interim GM. So it was a great opportunity for me because of AP.
So what was that like? Obviously, starting the season, Jimmy is the starting quarterback, and then when all of the stuff went down, and AP became head coach, you got the start, and you had your ups and downs the first few games, and then you really hit your stride and had some really awesome success, especially the last 4 games, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, which those are just statistics, but I know that beyond those statistics is a real human being that's learning, oh my gosh, this is a new game. Is number one, the pro game as different as people say it is from the college game, and what was learning how to play at that speed like?
Yeah, I think it's just hard just because guys have been doing it at this level for years and years, and you play guys that have been pro ballers and really good players in the league for a lot of years, and it's I've been in the league for a few months, and so you try to learn as fast as possible. I think I had some great support from teammates, older teammates, my peers, other rookies with me. And guys that really had my back through, like you said, there was some early struggles and really struggles throughout. But I think more than anybody, guys in the locker room understand what it takes to play in the NFL, and they know it's hard, and it's hard. And I know especially the older guys know it's hard to play as a rookie, and so those guys normally are have your back more than anybody because they know how hard it is to play when you're younger. And so it was definitely felt overwhelming support from the coaches, like we talked about, from the players as well.
Wow, that's fun. How important is culture in terms of a team? Like in the NFL, does it just become all professional, or does the culture matter? Are the coaches trying to create a sense of unity, or is it just kind of, hey, we're all professionals. We're getting paid here. We got a job to do. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think culture definitely matters. I think obviously you hear it talked about more in college than the NFL, but I think there's a certain, just demeanor you want to have when you're playing the game, when you're practicing, when you're watching film. And I think there's different ways to do it. Obviously, you see different coaches with different dynamics of how they coach and how they interact with players. But yeah, I think that was maybe the biggest turn, was just the environment that we were in when the coaching change happened. And I think, we came out that first game and we had a home game against the Giants and played really well and won big. And I think there was just a renewed sense of energy. There definitely, you can see that there's professionals and they act a certain way, but at the end of the day, a lot of them, you can still tell they're just kids and they're just playing football and it's just a game. And so you try to, those simple things that you did when you were a kid to try to bring energy and intensity to a game, you try to do the same.
Yeah, so you're the quarterback, obviously, and so you're the face of a franchise in a sense. How do you handle that weight?
Yeah, I think don't go on social media is number one. I think for me, I'm definitely a little ignorant to the ignorance is bliss. I would say it was my story at this point. I think I don't know what people are saying about me, and that's a little bit uncomfortable. But I honestly, people say I'm like they are like, wow, I can't believe you don't read anything or go on social media. But I actually don't know how people that do read all that stuff can go out and perform and have a clear head. And the only way I'm able to go out there with like a clear mind and confidence is knowing, like, just tuning everything out of what people say about me and stuff. Because unfortunately, I'm a people pleaser. I'd want to listen to what people say, and so just trying to get opinions from the people I respect and the people that know. At the end of the day, trying to hear what they say and take their criticism as big. So I think just not reading all that stuff. I definitely, if I'm just being honest, I feel like I felt when I was 16 in high school. I still feel like I'm just trying to figure it out and trying to string some good days of training or whatever it might be together and try to go out there and play good football.
How do you like Vegas?
Yeah, Vegas is different than the Midwest. A little different, especially from West Lafayette. But it's been
a lot
awesome.
different.
Yeah, right. But we're pretty removed from the Strip, which is nice. Obviously, there's stuff to do whenever you want. There's great restaurants and stuff, but me and my wife are a little more homebody than that, and so we like to hang at the house and chill out. And so it's crazy if you want it to be, but if you don't want it to be, you can stay away and stay out in the suburbs.
How do you like the desert?
The desert was hard to adjust to at first, especially we came in May, so we had a little good weather when we first got out here, but then it slowly crept up. And the summer was like brutal.
110, 120?
Yeah, I think it was the camp was like an average of 108 a day or something like that. Oh my God.
Are you guys outside? You're not outside.
We are, but we're like 8:30 in the morning. We're out there 8 or 8:30 and we're done by 11. So before the real heat starts, we're off the practice field, and so that's just during camp. But
gosh.
But it's just a dry heat. But it's still 110 degrees.
It's very hot. I would say it is different than humidity, though. So yeah. I definitely don't miss the humidity. We went to Dallas for the preseason and had a preseason game, and it was like August 25th or something in Dallas, and that was hot. So I think just being able to walk outside and not like that humidity, not start sweating right away. If you stay in the shade, you can skate by for the most part.
I got a question about spiritual rhythms. How do you have them in a season, especially when every single Sunday, you're not going to church, but you got dudes obviously on the team that I'm sure love the Lord. So tell me about your spiritual rhythms in the NFL season.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we hired a couple chaplains in the summer, and so we did Bible studies throughout the year. Those weren't super extensive, but it was normally one the night before the game, and then one the day after the game. And so a couple Bible studies a week to just hear the word, even for 25, 30 minutes, hear it preached and passages. And I think our chaplains did an awesome job of not making it about football. It was truly like a mini sermon.
Yes.
A lot of passage, and that was a great kind of disconnect. and time to take your mind off of football, I think. And so that was great. And then for me, my personal study, I think I found time. We got some more time than I thought after meetings before practice. And so I was able to do my individual reading actually in the hot tub every day. And so I would
Let's go.
take my Bible in the hot tub, and I'm doing, I actually, crazy enough, last December, so December of 2022, so about a year and month ago, I started the Bible in a year, and didn't know this crazy. It was a crazy year to start it, but I'm slowly getting there. I think I'm on week like 38 of 52, so I'm slowly. So it'll be like a year and a half when I get it done.
I love it. That's well done.
What's your relationship? Obviously, you married her, so you got a good relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
But she loved the Lord, and how does her faith impact yours?
Yeah, I think she is definitely a rock for me. She was an athlete at Purdue as well, actually, and so she knows a lot of what it takes to be an athlete, and so she can understand maybe more than others can. I think more than anything, she helps me get my mind off of it, and when I need to talk about it, she'll sit and listen and be patient with me, and when I don't want to talk about it, she's very happy to just not talk about it and talk about other stuff, and so it's hard to do what I do, but I think it's really, really hard to do what she does, and she does a lot of the stuff that just the dirty work. I mean, to move out to Vegas from Purdue is a lot of work, and I basically got here and had to go to work for 10 some hours a day, and she had to move our whole life out and deal with the movers and insurance and all the small things you don't think about. And so she's been continuing to do that and kind of holds my life together in a lot of the ways that it slips through my hands because I'm busy with football. So she is an awesome supporter, and probably more than that, she's funny and fun to talk to, fun to hang out with. So she's awesome.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Very happy for you. That's a real gift.
Yeah.
To have a great woman by your side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to take your mind off of just your job when you are at home?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it depends on the day and depends on the week. And some days are longer than others. I unfortunately have to bring home or work home with me sometimes and do extra studying. And I was a rookie quarterback, so I had, a lot of studying to do on a week-to-week basis to try to go out there and feel like I was prepared to play. And so it was hard. It was hard to find the balance, but I think we did it because we got married before my last season at Purdue, and we tried to kind of implement it then and then last season as well to try to, for the most part, when I'm gone, I'm focused on what I'm doing, but hopefully even if I have to spend some more time at the facility, I will. So when I come home, I can be home and focus on her and spend time with her. And I think, she's been by my side through not just this crazy year, but years before that. And so, like you said, super lucky to have her. I can't imagine doing this alone. I probably would have quit at this point already, but she's definitely just super supportive and by my side.
Yeah. So speaking of doing it alone, we obviously can't walk out our faith alone either. So did you have teammates at Purdue that had significant impacts on your walk? And then do you have teammates now that you've developed friendships with that are also brothers in the Lord that are, sharpening you?
Yeah, both actually. I had guy I'm probably closest with. There's a guy named David Blau. He actually he's a practice squad QB for the Lions this year.
Mm-hmm.
But he played at Purdue. I think he graduated in 2019. But he played the first couple years, and so when I didn't play, he was the quarterback, and so I got to have a great relationship with him. He basically right when I got to campus invited me to FCA and kind of took me under his wing and believed in me and helped me and stuff. And so he's been awesome. I still talk to him. I talk to him every week, multiple times a week.
Do you really? That's awesome.
We were supposed to go to South Africa actually on a little mission trip. His wife him, me and my wife, and then our chaplain from Purdue. But unfortunately, our chaplain hurt his shoulder, so we're going to postpone until next year. But yeah, he's been an awesome friend and mentor, and through the draft process, helped me out a bunch of what I should do, what I should say, all that stuff. So him and a bunch of other guys, but him especially, and I think he was a peer. I think like I mentioned, our FCA chaplain, his name is Marty Dittmar. He was huge for me. He's an older guy, but he runs FCA at Purdue, and he's a guy, again, I talk to a lot who he's a lot older than me, but one of my best buddies at Purdue. So help me get through a lot of stuff. And then one more guy at Purdue I have to mention. His name's Sean Pugh. He's actually the chaplain for the Lions now.
Wow.
And he's the man. He was there my first few years at Purdue, and was like basically helped out all the players on the team, but also the team chaplain. And yeah, so guys like that just super poured into me. Like I said, when I was figuring out what Christianity really was, those guys really had my back and supported me, and taught me and sat and listened to me. And early on, when I was fired up about it and probably was in a little bit too fired up about it and had to relax a little bit, they were patient with me. And so those guys are awesome. And then coming here, obviously it's a different dynamic. There's older guys on the team, guys who may be a lot older than me. And so a couple guys are both our kicker and our punter, AJ, our punter, Daniel, our kicker, are both Christian guys that I've looked up to and been able to form a relationship with, have been supportive of me, Constance at our Bible studies, and then Hunter Renfro, one of our receivers, same way. So all those guys have been huge for me. It's been fun to develop our friendships.
Fun.
That's awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
When you think about Aidan O'Connell and the legacy that you want to have, because you've already talked about it beyond the field, and you know that, NFL, not for long. So even if you have a long career, you still got a lot of life to live.
Yeah.
What do you want your life to be about?
Yeah, it's a great question. Hopefully, like I said, it bothers me when people call me good or say I'm a good person or stuff like that. So hopefully I can reflect Christ in a way that doesn't make me look great, but ultimately makes him look great and makes him look like a great savior that people want to run to. And I'm still working on how to do that and how that plays out on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, I would love for, again, yeah, people come up to me a lot and talk about my faith and say, man, your faith inspires me. And I just hope that I would just want those people to know, actually, not just my faith isn't in some just random God, celestial being, whatever it might be, but actually about who Jesus is and what he is as a savior and as a friend. And so that would be what I would hope. Again, I'm still working on how to do that. And I know I won't get there this side of heaven, but that would be a goal of mine. I think I want to, after I'm done playing, actually be a chaplain for a team. So that would be something. Hopefully, would be a profession I would love to do. I'd love to be around football still, but also love the spiritual aspect.
That's awesome.
That is really good.
I love that.
He is a great savior. He is such a great friend, Jesus. And just I think about Paul too, like the whole goal for Paul's life was in Philippians 1 where he says that Christ may be magnified in my life. And that word magnified is just for Christ to be put on display.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's actually through the little things. You know what I mean? The things that, I don't know, how we treat people, how we respond to certain situations, how we are out in public. And I'm sure for you have a public life now where especially as a local, they know who you are.
Especially with that mustache.
Hard to miss.
Yeah. Have you had any of those encounters where, you see people, they're noticing you and they're noticing the way that you are treating the restaurant worker, you are treating the bag person at the grocery store? Yeah,
I think, like I said, probably one of the biggest things people will say when they come up to me is something about my faith or me being a good person. And I think it's hard to have when you're just meeting someone like that and passing by. It's hard to have conversations, but I think everyone wants to, in my position, wants to talk about a platform in terms of success. But I think for me, not more than success, but maybe is how I respond to failure. And I definitely think if we win a game and I go on TV and say glory to God, I definitely think God gets a bunch of glory from that. But I think maybe more than that, he gets glory when I fail and have to rely on him and have to point to him in my failures. And when people that just not just are around me every once in a while, but spend every day with me, see me fail and see me sin or see me do whatever I'm not supposed to do, and see that, again, I'm not perfect or I make mistakes. And then I think the people that can see that and see me in those situations, I think I have a bigger impact on knowing that I can point them to Christ, knowing this isn't for people that are perfect, because none of us are, but we're, he came to call the sick. And so that's been the hardest part. I think the more I read scripture, the more I see verses like that about how in our failure, I want to decrease so the Lord can increase, and in our failure, the Lord has made great. Those are hard to stomach because it's taking us off a pedestal. But I think those are ultimately a bigger impact, is when in failure you can still point people to the Lord.
Wow, that is just pure wisdom coming out of your mouth. Hang on to that. I mean, in a different way, as a pastor, people expect things out of me. They expect me to be something, and yet what you just said is so profound. Like, I'm just a person, just like all of you are. I have struggles. I have weaknesses. I fail. My life even gets off track. And so I just want to say to you too, like, you're probably going to feel at times like you're carrying the weight of people who are coming up to you with all these expectations, even Christians, and thank you for being all this. But underneath all that too, there's a weight to that. Give yourself permission to just be a human being, a fellow struggler, someone who's desperate for Jesus, who makes mistakes, and yet gets to play football and have this platform. Yeah. And so you said all that. I'm just affirming it in you. Keep going, man.
Yeah, and have joy in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so evident to me, Aidan, that you're living freely and lightly. Like, I don't know what I expect, but I would just imagine, with my personality, my tendency would probably be to be more anxious and tight, just having the type of weight that you have. But it's been so encouraging to hear your perspective, the way that you even protect yourself from outside noise that's just irrelevant, and the way that you're leaning into your faith, and to just hear how real you've been even as you steward what God has put in your life for this season as an NFL quarterback. It's crazy to me, and it's such an encouragement, which I knew was going to be the case, especially knowing your brother, the things that he said about you. But I'm just grateful for your witness, dude, and I really do hope that the Lord does that in your life, and that you're going to be sharing your faith and pastoring players for years to come, even after your career. But before then, I hope that you do just crush it, and praying for you, dude. And yeah, if the Raiders were still playing, go Raiders. But you guys got a whole new season that you're preparing for. So, yeah.
I'm a Raiders fan after this, for sure. I don't know who I'd root for if they play the Lions, but I'm a Raiders fan next year. I can't wait.
Is Allegiant pretty that stadium looks pretty sick.
Yeah, it's crazy. Our facilities we're super spoiled, which I didn't know, but not all NFL facilities and practice facilities are as nice as ours, so we're spoiled.
I'll be honest, I am a little bitter, though, because I grew up in Minneapolis, so diehard Vikings fan, and the Vikings drafted Daniel and then cut him like 4 games into his rookie season because he had missed a few kicks, and now I have to watch in agony as this dude is just killing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we drafted him, and we cut him. We didn't even trade him away. We just gave him away, and now he's killing it for you guys. So I'm glad to hear that he's doing well, though, and it's just whatever.
Yes.
At the end of the day, hey, you might have to draft Aidan next year in our fantasy league.
I think I might.
Do you get people bothering you about fantasy football?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, definitely. But
You're like, yeah.
We're not going to.
No, we
That's
won't. I just was curious. But
part of
yeah. So you have a 4-year rookie contract, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I played my first of 4 years on the rookie contract, but of course could be cut or traded or nothing set in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Do you have any, I get to ask this question because you're right here, but do you have any idea on next season? Do you walk in as the incumbent, or are they going to make it a competition?
I'm sure they'll make it a competition. It is the NFL, and so
yeah, of course.
It's the best of the best, and their job is to replace me, and my job is to try to keep my job, and so that's the way of the world.
Hey,
what a journey though you've had, honestly, to be a walk-on at Purdue and just through grit, resilience, just stay the course and have so much success your senior year, and then to get drafted and the year you had with the Raiders this year. And yet, in all of it, dude, you're putting Jesus on display. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, trying to.
Yeah,
I
same.
love it. Well, awesome, Aidan. Thanks for taking the time. Seriously, appreciate it, and just grateful for you and your testimony, man. Be blessed.
Yeah.
God be with you. Praying for you.
Yeah.
And Quinn, anything else?
I was just gonna say, Aidan, anything else you want to bring up before we close up shop for the day?
No, just thank you guys for having me on. I hope it blesses your guys' community. I know we joined the church at Purdue and got to know our pastor, and that was the first time I ever really knew my pastor. And shoot, that's a tough job. So you guys keep going.
Thank you.
So is quarterback in the NFL, buddy.
No, it was an honor, Aidan. Thank you so much, and it's really going to bless our people. They're going to be really excited. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, great
awesome. Talking. All right. Well, this is the Locker Room, where we break down sermon stories and scripture for the race of our faith. If this podcast has been serving you, hit follow and the notification bell. That way you can stay up to date on all the new episodes. We love you. See ya.